Good morning, my friends. I hope that your day has started off right, and I hope it's as beautiful where you are as where I am right now, which is Central Florida. It's very, very nice out here. And I just want to take a couple minutes before I head off to work to ponder over a couple of things. This is one of those think about this kind of moments. At least we'll chew on a few ideas. And I would appreciate it if you would leave your comments down below. Let me start off by asking this question. Have you ever driven through Georgia? If you have, you probably know where this is going. I mean, it conjures up all sorts of memories, probably, doesn't it? Well, one thing I know, and everybody that I know who's been through Georgia or driven through it, has the same thing to say. Don't speed through Georgia. Just don't do it. It's once you cross the Florida-Georgia line, state troopers are everywhere. I mean, absolutely ubiquitous. You can't get away from them. I mean, quite literally, if you tried, there would be no hope because there's one around every bend. And that's something I learned many years ago. And I might drive about 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, but not any more than that. I even feel a little prickly doing that because you just don't know. I mean, they seem very eager. And my mom, she lives up in North Georgia. I went up to go see her earlier in the year. And it had been a while since I had driven through Georgia at that point. And I still once again saw them everywhere, and there's a lot of mountains up there. The further north you go, the harder they are to detect. Although to the people that live in the area, they might not be. And then several months after that, our family took a mini vacation to Savannah, which if you've never been to Savannah, Georgia, I highly recommend it. It was one of my favorite places that I've ever been on vacation. It's just so nice. I put it up there, maybe even above St. Augustine a little bit. You almost can't compare them, but I do like those two places a lot, and I recommend them if you haven't been there. But something happened in Savannah, I guess earlier this year, maybe here in the very recent past, because this article that I'm going to share with you that was found on Associated Press was updated on October 15th. So it wasn't that long ago. I just don't know when the original event occurred. But this kind of goes along with what we're talking about. The headline to this article says, a $1.4 million speeding ticket surprised a Georgia man before officials clarified the situation. Okay? Sounds pretty hefty, doesn't it? Sounds like Georgia takes speeding seriously, right? Well, as I have clarified, yes, they do. And you just don't want to take any chances. But this man was clearly flummoxed by what he received. So here's what the article says. A Georgia man was left reeling after receiving a $1.4 million speeding ticket, but city officials say the figure was just a placeholder, not the actual fine. Whatever that means. Connor Cato tells WSAV-TV in Savannah that he received the citation after getting pulled over in September for driving 90 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone. He called the court thinking the figure was a typo, but says he was told he either had to pay it or appear in court in December. Wow. Okay. So Savannah officials say anyone caught driving more than 35 miles per hour above the speed limit has to appear in court where a judge will determine the actual fine. The figure Cato received reflected a placeholder that was automatically generated by an e-citation software used by the local recorder's court, said Joshua Peacock, a spokesman for Savannah's city government. The actual fine cannot exceed $1,000 in addition to state-mandated cost. Peacock said, we do not issue that placeholder as a threat to scare anybody into court. Even if this person heard differently from somebody in our organization. Well, I mean, that's a little hard to believe, but you know what they say, it is what it is. He added that the court is currently working on adjusting the placeholder language to avoid any confusion. Now you notice that he said they're adjusting the placeholder language to avoid any confusion. That seems like a compromise, right? But it's really not, because they're not really changing anything. They're just changing the way you're going to hear it. But the offense still occurred, and the fine will still be given. There's still going to be a consequence for his action. You know what they say? They say, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Like I said, I wouldn't want to drive over 5 miles per hour over the speed limit in Georgia anywhere, but this guy drove 90 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone. Pretty stupid. Really, really dumb. Now, here's the point that I want to make in all of this, and that is, when you go anywhere, and I mean this metaphorically, I don't mean this literally, like geographically, but when you go anywhere, wherever you find yourself in life, or whoever you might be around, maybe you've taken another job, maybe you've married into a family, or maybe you're starting a family, or whatever the case might be, there's an atmosphere, there's a milieu, so to speak, and it helps to gauge the temperature of the room wherever you are, and to make certain adjustments for that. Now, before you bristle at that, understand a few things. I don't mean you have to change who you are. I'm not saying that you have to completely change your identity, okay? Hear me out. But you do need to make some compromises, because there are certain laws that people have in their mind, or maybe groups of people, or maybe literal places you go, that they expect you to abide by, because it helps them to maintain civilized structure. And it helps just, afford a secure environment. Okay? But here's the problem. There's an awful lot of people who are so concerned about being themselves and acting out and exhibiting a behavior that is all about showing you who they are, that they can't imagine compromising or adapting to their environment at all whatsoever. They'll barge into a room, or they'll find themselves ensconced in an environment with other people where they actually become the fly in the ointment. They don't fit, but they expect everyone else to adjust to them. We see this a lot, don't we? You'll get a few people, or maybe one person, who says, I want everything to be changed here because I have now arrived. Now, there are some people that will placate that, and we see some of that going on today, don't we? But understand that by no means will the world keep moving on in that direction. There is an expiration date for this kind of thinking. It will end. You can't expect everyone else to adjust to you. You have to know that you're not the most important person in the world, and that there are other things more important to consider than your own personal identity and your own personal wants and desires and your need to be pleased. You understand? It's important that we assimilate. And this is the problem that we have with so many people nowadays is nobody needs to assimilate except you. In other words, what they mean is, I'm not going to change, you're going to change for me. You better use my pronouns. You better change your rules, your laws. It'd be like me driving into or like this man driving into Georgia and saying, well, I'm here now. I expect you, I know your signs say 55 miles per hour, but I either don't expect that to apply to me. You change the laws, it doesn't apply to me, or it's good for everybody. It's ridiculous. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what kind of world this would be if those kind of adjustments were made? Everything would just unravel. It'd fall apart. No one person is so important that the rest of the world needs to change for them. And don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if you're one of these people to find out that you get a shocking notice one day that you either you're going to have to appear to answer for something or pay a really hefty fine. But regardless, there will be consequences for foolish, selfish behavior. And there ought to be. There ought to be. No one's saying that you have to totally lose who you are, but it is important that we do assimilate and that we think of the greater number of people rather than just ourselves. It's how things are going to work. It's how things have always worked and how they're going to continue to move on. I hope you think about that. This man was foolish, but he got a lesson real quick. I wonder if he repeats the same thing again. If only the people that we're dealing with now could get a shocking notice. You know, the sooner the better as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, that's my 2 cents for today. Just something to think about. Leave your thoughts down below. And I would love to hear from you. I'll answer as promptly as possible. If you want to know what I use in my beard, check the description and I will fill you in on a few things and help you save some money. Also, consider donating to the channel. You don't have to, but if you want to show a tangible way of saying thank you, you can do that. Regardless, I do appreciate you watching. Thanks for joining me. I'll catch you in the next one. In the meantime, be wise.